So how do you get fit? Well, that's the one of life's imponderables, I suppose, if you're into sport. And so I thought we'd have a little chat, and I got together with a couple of my athletes, Karen Dake, who's a Paralympic Gold medallist, and Clare Pearson, who's a close friend, and a trail runner, gets on the podium from time to time, so she's pretty good as well. And I do some work with her as part of this business as well. So what did we come up between us? Basically, you've got to want to be fit. You've got to have a goal that you believe in, something that's exciting. If it's not exciting, you're unlikely to commit to it and work hard. I suppose a lot of what makes it exciting is that you're unsure whether you can achieve it. So something that is difficult to achieve but you believe is a possibility. And you've got to really, commit to it to get there. Because, it's going to be hard. Training's not easy. You've got to push yourself outside your comfort zone. And that's that's the basic theory of training. Stress yourself, then recover. You've got to have the time to train and the time to recover from that training, so that you can stress your system and then let your body adapt to it, which is basically your body breaks down when you train hard, and when you recover it adapts, so that when you do the next training session, then basically you'll be a little bit better at it. It's like anything, if you practice sitting on the settee eating chips, you'll get good at sitting on the settee eating chips, and but probably not a goal you want to commit to. You need to have you need to know how to get fit. Obviously you'll learn a lot of that along the way as you start out. If you're starting out as a beginner, then it doesn't really you don't need a huge amount of knowledge. You just need to get out and do some training, do some exercise, and as you get better you will learn along the way. If you want to learn faster, then find somebody that knows about what to do. So basically you need to either have the knowledge, or you need to be able to get access to the knowledge that you need at any particular level in your training process. And obviously you can employ a coach like myself to work with, or you can look on various forums, or get in touch. If you've got a question, send me an email. My contact details on the website. And obviously subscribe to this YouTube channel, where we'll be giving loads and loads of tips and information on how to get fitter and get yourself on that podium, if that's your goal. You need to put all this. The best way to achieve success is to have a plan. So you put this knowledge that you have into some sort of plan, and with various goals. You need goals along the way in the plan. So if you are just starting out running and you want to be a brilliant mountain runner, then your first step might be to be able to run for 5 kilometres, and you might enter a 5 kilometre road race, which seems a bit odd, but if you're wanting to race off-road, but it's a stepping stone, and if you have regular stepping stones that are achievable, it's really motivating, helps you keep going and move on to to greater things, get faster. It's great. In fact, the park run in Britain is an amazing thing, and every Saturday you can get out there, hopefully run a bit faster. Maybe if you sort of aim to be a little bit faster each month, then that's a good marker. It's not going to do too much. You're not going to knack yourself doing lots of park runs, because you can recover quite quickly, and basically your training's over by 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, so you can enjoy the rest of the day with family and whatever. So you need a plan, and it's got to be progressive, and it's got to have some goals or milestones along the way, and you basically use your knowledge, or you help somebody to produce a plan for you, and use their knowledge, and maybe you can learn from them, and eventually you'll be producing your own plans if that's what you want. You need the right equipment. I mean, that's pretty basic at first. You can enter most endurance sports with very minimal equipment. So if you want to run, you just need a pair of running shoes. If you want to cycle, you just need a bike. You can get bikes quite cheaply nowadays. This particularly if you look on the second-hand market, and take a friend with you who can help you make sure you don't buy a bad one. But then, if you look in things like forums like Cycling Weekly, then you can, most people are pretty honest on there. So just be a bit careful, but you can get some great bargains. And a lot of people buy bikes, thinking they want to get fit, and then they never use them. So there's some amazing deals to be had. You've got this plan, but at first everybody's full of enthusiasm. So perhaps one of the main things that came up actually from both Karen and Claire was that avoidance of overtraining. So being able to spot when you're tired and when to back off, which is perhaps it's obviously important to be committed enough to train hard, but it's just as important to know when to back off. And perhaps I've spent a lot of time training with some really good athletes, national record holders, and people who've been on the sort of world-class circuit. And one thing I've noticed with them is that when they do it out for an easy session, it is an easy session. They can just chat away and take it easy. When they're out for a hard session, it's really hard. And but they know when to rest, and if they're very good at resting. One particular athlete that springs to mind is if he didn't feel like training, if he didn't feel up to it, he didn't train. He just had a day off, and he ran into the Bislett Games in Norway, which at the time, the same time that Seb Coe was the best middle distance runner in the world, and he ran the 5,000 with all the Africans and Kenyans and did pretty well. So know when to rest, keep an eye on your body, use various metrics. Nowadays you can try heart rate variability, check your heart rate, make a note of your mood every morning. So if you get grumpy, then that's a sign that you might be doing a bit too much, or if your sleep's disrupted, you might want to do and have an easier day. So don't be scared to take it easy occasionally. Getting fit is about being consistent. It's not about doing one hard session and then having and then stopping for a month or whatever. You need to do something at least 3 or 4 times a week, and the best athletes are training, twice a day, maybe 12 sessions a week. So just be consistent, build up gradually, keep an eye on yourself, and avoid getting too tired. One thing that came up was the strength to avoid inappropriate peer pressure. So we all get sort of not bullied, but pushed, encouraged to do certain things where they might not be helpful, and sometimes it's important to say no. Or if you're wanting to meet some friends for a drink, then it might be that you want to meet them an hour later, so you've got time to do your training session. It might be that if you've got a long session to do on a Sunday, that you have to not indulge quite so much on a Saturday night. But basically, it's up to you. If you want to reach your goals, and your goals are challenging, then certain sacrifices have to be made. But there are obviously great rewards to be had, and it's a much more healthy lifestyle. So basically, it's a case of doing things in moderation. I'm not saying don't go to the pub or don't go for a beer, because That's another thing I've noticed in the greatest athletes in the world. Or some amazing athletes I've trained with. I've drunk now and again. Some don't drink, some do drink. So just go with the flow and don't go daft. Sort of associated with this is, associated with it all, with the plan, is that you need to be resilient. You're talking about a goal that maybe several months in advance, or if it were things like Karen, the Paralympics, it's 4 years in advance that she's got to think ahead. So things are going to go wrong in that period of time. Then everything's not going to go to your plan. Life doesn't work like that. So to be successful, you have to be resilient. And I was lucky enough to do a bit of work with a chap called Steve Peters, who's quite famous for helping Chris Hoy and many other GB cyclists achieve multiple Olympic gold medals. He's an amazing person. And in his book, The Chimp Paradox, he comes up with he has an acronym called AMP, which is accept, move on with a plan. And I really like this because accept means you have to accept that things are going to go wrong. It's normal in life that things are going to go wrong. I've combined. If you combine this with a book, Eat and Run by Scott Jurek, then he says he has a similar method. If something goes wrong, he allows himself to panic. His is more like immediate. It's in a race. So accept that you're going to panic, you can be pissed off and grumpy and whatever, and just give yourself that time to get over the initial emotional chimp-like activity that you might experience. And then the M and the P is move on with a plan. So create a plan to move on and move on. But I mean, you need to have a plan to move on away from this, whatever obstacle you've encountered, whatever problem it might be. If you don't have a plan, then the chances of you successfully moving forward are orders of magnitude less. So accept, move on with a plan, AMP, and allow yourself to panic a bit, because that's likely to happen in all cases. And in fact, if you want to learn about the Chimp Paradox, and Steve Peters wrote a great book called The Chimp Paradox, so look it up. Both Karen and Claire came up with having a coach you can trust, which was quite nice for me, given that I coached them both. So I think I didn't have a coach as the main thing, but I do work with a coach myself in my own sport. So obviously I could coach myself if I want to do, but I find that objectivity, being able to bounce ideas off people, off the coach, and also their ideas, useful. It stops me overthinking things. There are sort of loads of advantages to work with a trusted third party, which may be a paid coach, or it may be a friend, or just a training partner or whatever. So basically somebody who's in it with you, I think, is and if it's a coach, it's a knowledgeable person that's in it with you, that's objective and helpful and can produce that plan that you don't have to worry about producing yourself, which is of amazing value. Going on from that is a supportive environment, or we call it a performance environment. So you might be in a club. If it's a good club, then people you can spend time training with, socialising with as well to some extent, and people that motivate you and believe in your goal and are supportive of that goal. Some people might be a bit jealous that you're fit and healthy and try and get you to do things that make you less fit and healthy, or not necessarily on purpose or consciously, but unconsciously. So surround yourself with people who believe in your success, people are positive and enthusiastic and maybe people who have similar goals to you, also people who certainly have compatible goals. Makes a huge difference to how likely you are to succeed. And people are not helpful to you achieving your goals, then either stop associating with them if that's possible, because they're probably going to, it's not a helpful situation perhaps in your life either. And if that's not possible, just make it clear to them that how they're influencing you, and try and adjust that relationship to make it a much more positive situation. And all this is helpful in creating a positive mindset. Most of the time you need to have a positive mindset about your goal, your training, your recovery, your nutrition, and so learning to be able to work on your mental skills is important, and keeping a positive outlook is basically, I can't remember the exact quote, but there's a huge percentage of your success in any sport or in anything is in your mind, and certainly the higher the level that you're competing at, the more this is true. So get your mind right, spend a bit of time. In fact, you could arguably say that you should spend as much time training your mind as training your body. So there you go. Good luck. If you need any help, get in touch, either formally or informally. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you've enjoyed this video, then subscribe and have a look at the rest of the videos on my channel, so that you can learn and we can give me some feedback so that we can learn together. Okay, thanks, bye.